From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In this podcast, I sit down with Vikas Singhal, the founder of Insta Wp, and we chat about his new product. Just worth noting that at the time we recorded this, his latest news had not been public, but I should now tell you, Vikas has received some funding for Insta Wp from Automatic. Congratulations, Vikas. So well deserved. Grab your favorite drink and enjoy the conversation that Vikas and I had. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm here with Vikas Singhal today of Instant WP. How are you today?
Hey Robert, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Good to have you on the podcast. We just for a backstory, you and I actually met at the Aderim Web Agency Summit last month, and it's one of the great ways to meet people is to chat in the networking lounges at summits, right?
Yep. It was kind of means unpredictable, also, right? You don't know whom you are going to meet, and then you meet somebody great, and then this stuff like this podcast happen.
Yeah, it is great, and I really appreciate that and all the discussion and even the pre-show discussion we had today. So I always like to talk to people in the WordPress space and say, what's your WordPress origin story? How did you get into WordPress?
Yeah, it's an interesting story also, for me at least. I always had passion about programming and building stuff from, I think, at the age of 14. But fast forward all the way to, let's say, 6-7 years ago, I started creating a website for my brother. So he owns a physical brick and mortar shop, and he wanted to go online as everybody else. And then I started searching for solution. Everybody thought this guy is the engineer in the family, so he must be knowing stuff. So I was previous to that, I was building apps on the side using just plain raw PHP and maybe some framework here and there. Then I discovered PrestaShop for my brother's site, and I built a site for him, and it was good. Since it was in PHP, it's an open source software as well. And I hosted it somewhere and then messed around with it, and then eventually added some code as a plugin of PrestaShop. And that was kind of an aha moment for me. Means you can add stuff to this kind of software and make it more extensible. Why not? Means it's go time. So I built around 20 extensions, and it started earning some money on the side. And I always dreamt of building some product and making money off of it, not just because of the money per se, but it's like it's a metric of success in some way for a lot of people, and that makes you somewhat happier, right, in terms of getting a milestone somewhere. But anyway, so fast forward, then I started realizing that PrestaShop has a smaller community. Not a lot of people use it. Maybe in Europe, there is a big community, but not around the world. And then obviously one CMS to another, how can you miss WordPress? I feel that I am late to the WordPress bandwagon. I started WordPress around 4 years ago when I was discovering various CMSs. And my first step into WordPress world was to acquire a plugin. Believe it or not, And before that, I was doing PrestaShop, obviously, but I was also flipping sites for fun and profit. And I was buying and selling websites out of Flippa. So that's a story for another day. But then I saw this Code Canyon and this great marketplace. Why not, right? And I saw a plugin for security. I come from a security background. I think that may be interesting to you. I was a pen tester at some point, and then I bought the plugin. I reached out to the owner that this is a security plugin for WordPress. It was Hide My WP, by the way, the original one, and I acquired it from him and then started working on it. So that's my origin story, but maybe a little bit long. So sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. I always enjoy hearing about why people got into the community. Before we get to your product, since you mentioned security, a lot of people, I don't know, they kind of combine and say WordPress is inherently not secure. And my argument would be it's a trust factor. There's vulnerabilities in every piece of software out there. I mean, if you're a Windows user, the biggest operating system in the world for business, Microsoft patches every patch Tuesday.
Right.
I think it's more a trust factor. Do you trust the plugin developer? Do you trust WordPress to patch their security vulnerabilities? Do you have any thought about that coming from a security background?
I think there are multiple opinions on that. My opinions is that WordPress by itself is not insecure, right? Since the nature of WordPress is it's open source, you host it yourself, right? It's not a SaaS platform. It's infinitely scale. It's infinitely flexible on its own. By that, you can install anything on that or write any PHP code. Means which platform gives you that, right? It's so much flexible, but with flexibility comes the risk of security because it's hosted on a hosting provider, but you are kind of managing on your own. We can talk about that also. But nowadays, hosting providers are so secure that means unless you upload some kind of, as you said, untrusted plugin or a theme, and that is not maintained very well, the plugin developers are lazy in security, eventually it will lead to some kind of security vulnerability, right? And I think if you think about SaaS kind of platforms where you don't need to worry about the servers, you just need to use the applications. For example, WordPress.com, right, can be a prime example of that. So you don't need to worry about it, but that takes away some of the flexibility. And again, since I come from a security world, I know that it's not that though every company is safe. So when you said that any piece of software has a potential vulnerability built in by the virtue of it's a software, right? And so you can't claim a big claim that we are secure through and through. And I think means largest company in the world have been hacked before. So it's as you said, it's all about trust. It's all about what kind of mechanisms are you putting in to make your site secure, and what kind of people are you hiring to build your site. So I think that also adds to the equation. At the end of the day, I think the whole ecosystem is moving towards a secure future with managed service providers from hosting perspective, from trusted plugin developers to having security products on top of it. I think all in all, I see it's going in the right direction.
No, I do too. So let's get on to what I really wanted to have you talk about today, and that's your product, Insta Wp. And
that's correct.
I really think this product is an amazing way, personally, to spin up a website real quickly for testing. So how did you come to developing this product?
That's also an interesting story. Since we are working in WordPress, so my parent company, which I own, is Express Tech. We do a bunch of plugins and themes. So I told you about Hide My WP. After that, I acquired around 10 themes and plugins over the last 3-4 years. And then I was lucky enough, or kind of in a position, to leave my full-time job last year. So doing all that gives me a better perspective of what WordPress is. Now I know what people use WordPress for and what kind of problems are there in terms of day to day. Now, in our team, we had an issue where we wanted a quick WordPress site, and then somebody will spin up on its local, or use cPanel to do like some kind of clumsy job of getting a site ready, or hosting some kind of control panel on our own to get a testing site for various purposes, right? For testing, for developing, for showing it to the client and whatnot. So it was kind of a hassle for me, or the whole team. And I discussed with some folks, and everybody told that this is not a great idea. This is just an idea because the idea started as a disposable WordPress platform, somewhere where you can create a WordPress site within seconds and then dispose of it. So believe it or not, I started this project around 4 years ago, and that the project was named as CMS Launcher. It was not the same project. I just combined together a bunch of cPanel reseller accounts and created an UI for that, and it was very, very not so what Insta Wp is today, right? But the idea was there in my mind for a really long time. It's just a click, get a site, work on it. Why do we have to worry about it? Why should all the Wix, Squarespace, Shopify folks have all the fun, right? Why can't we have the fun? So so that's how the idea started.
No, it's a great idea. What's the biggest use case for your product? I think, having played with it, having used it a little bit in testing, I think I see two big use cases for a developer. One is, do you want to test out a new plugin, a new WordPress version, a WordPress beta, a release candidate? And that's a really easy way to do it without having to spin up a site under cPanel. And the other is somewhere to put a test site to show a client. What other things do you see your product being used for?
I think it started with even less of a use case when I started it. It's just a temporary site launcher. So it can be for testing, as you said, for beta releases, for testing a plugin. But then the community or the users are now taking it towards like a more of an AWS for WordPress. Means I was just thinking of this. What is anonymous or what is synonymous to Insta WP is when you say like a Uber for something or Airbnb for something. I think this is AWS for WordPress, wherein you can do a lot of things when you have an infrastructure ready for WordPress. For example, you can build a site and then deliver it to the client all on Insta WP, right? Because we have that site creation facility already inbuilt, and then we now integrate with Migrate Guru, that plugin, right? We give you an instant one-click push to any hosting provider of your choice. So I see a lot of our paid users and free users are now moving towards that, and then using this as a build platform rather than just a test platform. So that's a big use case which is coming up.
Yeah, I could see using it as a builder platform, and I actually have a couple of projects coming up that I think that's the route I'm going to go, just to make my life personally a little easier. So I think that's the whole key with these tools is how, as a developer, do you make your life easier at the end of the day?
Right, and then you save time. You save your precious time, even though you are saving 30 minutes of your time a day. That adds up a lot. And then especially when you're working with a team, in Insta WP, you can invite your team members, have them work on the same site, and which is, I think, not really possible anywhere else. And then saving a site as a template for a starting point. I think tools like that gives like some kind of freedom. And means when I tell this to people on my demo calls, they say, "Oh, God, means you have that, means I was searching for that forever, right? So things like that is actually helping the builders. The second use case, which is now our secondary use case, the primary use case, the agencies and the freelancers, and the second use case is the developers, because now we have things like Git integration with GitHub or any other Git platform. So if you are a plugin developer or a theme developer, you can connect your repos and then do one-click testing. Or you don't even need to click, right? As soon as you raise a PR, a pull request on GitHub, you immediately get a new WordPress instance with your new coded plugin. So you don't need to actually upload your plugin somewhere to test it. It is already there for you to test it.
Yeah, and that makes it easy, and that's a time saver, the integration. So I think for a developer, that's really a great use case and a time saver. And I mean, time is money, so I think that's really important. In terms of the plans that you offer on your product, let's kind of break it down. What do you offer in the free plan, and then what's the cost of your premium plans, and what's included or added at that point?
Right. So in the free plan, actually we have a plan before the free, which is an anonymous plan, wherein you don't need to create an account. So you get 3 active sites which you can work on. So we have like a /onboard interface where you can just choose your WordPress version and then launch. No need for any email ID. But that is just 3 active sites, and every active site can, I think, stay live for 8 hours only. But when you do sign up and then get a free account, you can create up to 5 sites, and every site can live up to 48 hours, right? The expiry time extends up to 40, so that is 2 days. That gives you enough space and time to basically test anything if you're testing a plugin or whatnot. So that gives you enough time, and then we give you 500 MB of storage on the free account, and even if a site expires after 48 hours, right, we do allow you to restore it for 3 times in the free account. So it's a lot of time. You can still do a lot of stuff.
Good. And when you go to the paid accounts, what's your pricing on the paid account, and what's the difference in features?
Right. So paid account starts from $9 a month for a personal account, goes up to $29 and then $59. And the differentiating factor between these is number of sites you can create. So, for example, in the $9 account, you can, I think, if I remember correctly, 10 sites. And in the $59, the agency plan, which is our top seller, is you can create up to 50 sites at a one time, right? And then you also get more disk space. So from, I think, 2.5 GB all the way to 25 GB in agency. And then you also get a facility to reserve a site, which is not there on the free plan at all. So if you are working on a client site and then you think it is going to take more than what is the default expiry time, because expiry time also increases with every plan. In the agency plan, every site expires after 15 days. So that is plenty of time. But even then, if you think that, no, I want to be sure that this site shouldn't expire, and then you click on reserve, and then it never expires. Becomes like a hosting at that point. But so you get those reserve sites. In agency plan, I think you can reserve up to 10 sites at a time and then work on it at the same time. No problem.
How's the product been accepted in the community? Do you have a lot of free/paid users at this point?
So I think we started around 8 months ago, and right now we have around 1,500 free users on our platform. Every day, around 500 to 600 sites are created on Insta. Okay. We do have paid members, and we have crossed 1,000 MRR, I think, last month. And we are mostly focusing on the usability of the product at this point, and then optimizing for MRR later on. But those are the numbers. And when you talk about community, right, a lot of people are amazed by the product. So we recently actually, you mentioned Courtney in our pre-call. So she is now using InstaWP for Learn platform, the Learn WordPress platform, to offer education kind of assistance to the participants, the students, and they are creating free account on InstaWP, and then playing around with WordPress. And so, just imagine, right? Means the first 30 minutes of your call with somebody, that go there, do that, install SSL, do whatever, right, is gone. You just say that go to InstaWP, launch WordPress. So that is the power of InstaWP. And I'm not bragging myself. I'm saying that this is something I didn't even imagine myself when I started this project, that it can have such a large impact.
Mm-hmm. What is the number one requested feature that you hear from your community of people wanting added to the product?
So one thing is requested all the time is one-click push to hosting providers. So right now we have an integration, but that is a bit of work. So you need to input your SFTP address and whatnot. We are working with hosting companies like GoDaddy and WP Engine as we speak, to integrate a one-click push. So you just integrate your like kind of GoDaddy API key or whatever, and then you have like push, and then you build a site, you push it, you build a site, you push it. You don't need to worry about any connection as such.
Yeah, I can see that being a time saver, because I hate to tell you, people are getting lazier by the day, and if they can find a tool to do it for them, they probably will. So I think that's a biggie, is a one push, especially if you're a developer and you're building a client site, because then you can push all the plugins, push all the themes, push all the custom code, and you're done. I think that's a big deal. Where would you like to see the product go in the next while? Like if you were to roadmap out where you wanted to go?
As I said, I want it to become like an AWS for WordPress, right? And that what does that mean actually? Is have all the tools necessary for WordPress in one place. We don't want to be hosting providers at any time, but we want to give you all the necessary tools so that you come to Insta and then you can build it, develop it, test it. You do whatever you want, right? And then you push it anywhere of your choice. So, for example, if you are a Gravity Form customer or any other plugins, which is like a Pro plugin, you can connect your license account with Insta, right? So, and Patch Stack or anything, which, as you said, you can just connect to it. And then when you are creating a new site, you can just import that Pro plugin, right? Without any messing up with like getting a zip file, activating the license and whatnot, right? So that kind of ease of usability is what I'm targeting. So to summarize my thoughts, I think we want to be at the center of hosting providers, plugin and theme developers, and the builders, right? And we want to be in the center of that so that we can combine all of these together in a way that it becomes much easier of what it is today to connect between all these three. And when you create a WordPress site, right, you have all these three components put together, like we discussed. It's a self-hosted software. You host it on a hosting provider. You buy licenses from various people. It's not like means WordPress has some kind of marketplace where you can buy things from a single place. It's so flexible, right? The flexibility is some kind of bane or boon at the same time for WordPress. But if we combine all of these together in like an Insta store, if you will, people can buy licenses from inside InstaWP and have like a unified experience all over, right? They don't need to go anywhere else. And then the builders can build their own stuff. And then builder can offer their templates to everybody else, like a pre-built website. So let's say you are an expert in building gym kind of websites, or a doctor related website, or any consultant or anything like that, like a lawyer website. You can create your content. You can put some Pro plugins. You can put your themes, which is your favorite theme. Put together a bundle of content and the functionality, and then offer this as a productized service as a builder. What Gumroad does, right? If you think about what Gumroad does for creators, we can do it for WordPress builders as well. Excuse me.
That is really interesting, because I use Gumroad and I know what it does for creators. So doing that for a WordPress developer, designer, I think is a big deal in this space and something that really hasn't been done well before, actually.
Yep.
So I think that's key. I really appreciate you talking about your product. I would encourage people to go give it a crack. I really like it, so I think it's worth doing. Set yourself up a free account. If somebody wants to try the product or get a hold of you, how's the best way?
I'm always there on the chat personally on Insta Wp, or otherwise you can just tweet at me at Vikas Programmer on Twitter. So I'm always there.
Yeah. Thanks, Vikas. Have an amazing day, and thanks for sharing your story about Insta Wp.
Thanks, Robert, for having me. It was such a lovely to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Vikas for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.